first time I bought a burrito and didn't have to check my ATM to make sure that I could get a burrito. That's the height of human achievement.
Bringing your dungeon mastery to Australia for the first time with your live show, Endless Dungeon. If we were to get to sentimental, why is this show so significant for you?
It's a joy, a privilege, and an honor to travel the world meeting brilliant people. I think something that breaks your heart at a certain point is when you realize how many incredible stories are waiting out there in the hearts and minds of people that you're not going to get a chance to meet. There's more good people in the world than you can meet in a lifetime, and that's heartbreaking. So Endless Dungeon to me represents an opportunity to go out and play with people that I never would have gotten an opportunity to play with, and see how many kindred spirits are out there in this wide and beautiful world.
Well, yeah, you're jumping into the show with such Aussie icons who've you never played with before until yesterday.
Yeah.
Which to me, as someone who doesn't DM, that is astounding. What are the prerequisites to being a dungeon master of this caliber?
Well, first of all, there's a compliment baked into that question. So thank you for suggesting that my caliber is up to code, up to standard. It's a bizarre thing, right? I think that sometimes the thing that's luckiest about the career I've had is all of these skills that I've spent a lifetime honing were completely ill-advised to pursue at the time I was honing them. When I was starting to play D&D, you were a social pariah for playing this game. It was not popular. Being a nerd was not interesting or cool or lauded at all. And over the course of my lifetime, it's been a very bizarre thing because I pursued these hobbies with an understanding that it would never open doors for me. I just loved it. So to discover that the sort of tectonic plates of the world slowly shifted over the last now almost 30 years of playing this game, I've been playing since I was 10 years old, it feels too good to be true. It feels like a dream. And it's a very special thing. So the skills that you need to learn this, I think, are the skills you need to play D&D is just start playing. Nothing's going to make you a better dungeon master than diving in head first, making mistakes, being okay with learning as you go, and just starting, right? And it's probably true for most creative practices, is nothing makes you better than doing it, right? But what I'll say too is the road that I followed to get here was based on what I was passionate about and based on what I felt like I would love to devote all of my waking hours to. It was easy to do the hard work. I know that sounds like a contradiction or a paradox. There are things that when you love, the fact that they are hard is still somehow easy, right? And so whatever that is for you watching this at home, whether that's D&D or something else, I think if you are looking for what to pursue in your life, the path of least resistance is usually what is already speaking to you. Because if you're going to go out and try to do the best job you can, the greatest advantage will be what you're passionate about.
Very beautiful and very applicable to not just D&D.
But yeah, a broad spectrum of things.
Well, speaking of the other creative endeavors, besides the Australia tour, you've got all these shows you're writing, acting, producing in, and also, as you mentioned, you're a husband and father, and you're also a human being.
Allegedly.
Are you getting enough sleep, man?
I'm going to tell you something right now. Everybody who's worried about me, you need to back off. It's a question that I'm very flattered by, because the question of, are you doing okay, man? Like, you're doing a million things, is a question rooted in a piece of extremely good fortune for me, which is I've been able to construct my life to do all these amazing projects. You spend so long as a creative and spend so many years waiting for somebody to give you a chance. Sometimes I feel like I maybe waited too long and I should have just made my own chance, right? Like starting my webcomic that I wrote for many years with Lee Ostertag. There's a degree of you just want someone to give you that shot. And when that shot comes along, I think you owe it to all those years you spent waiting for that opportunity to run as hard as you can when you get that little bit of sunshine. And that's what it feels like I'm doing. I'm honoring all of those years I spent waiting for this opportunity to make the most of it. And I think that that's a huge part of it. I am getting plenty of sleep. And what I will say is, to anyone who's looking at the projects I'm involved in and being like, oh, like I've seen you see those jokes that are like Brennan Lee Mulligan, the most employed man in the world, or like I've seen the little jokes and memes and stuff. What I will say is this: the credit for all of these projects goes to the incredible team of people largely behind the camera. My amazing wife, who's touring the world with her movie right now and is the best partner I could ever ask for. My awesome coordinator, Rebecca Slater, our amazing producers and crew members and department heads at Dimension 20, the amazing staff and crew at Critical Role. Like, the reason you see this like storm of projects happening is not due to any sort of unique or supernatural gift on my part. It is an army of people behind the camera that are sort of propping me up. You know, I don't know if you watch Wallace and Gromit, but the sort of automated, I have a whole team of people that throw me into my pants in the morning and kick me out the door and go make up some dragons. And I go, okay. And I go off and do that. So know that the credit is due to an army of incredibly talented, hardworking people that make sure I get enough sleep at night. And it's due to them that all of this is possible.
We'll do a little intermission. My mate Sienna wanted me to forward this message to you. I need Brennan to know that D20 is the reason I got into D&D and DMing, and I'm forever grateful to him for making such an inclusive show with beautiful and poignant and silly storylines that I can turn on any given day, and that will be brighter for it.
That makes me really happy. Your friend's name is Sienna?
Yes.
Sienna, you rule. Thank you very much.
So, next question. Have you ever sat down and processed the significance you have in the D&D community globally?
No! Why would I process that? It's too much. You can't process it. I have, truth be told, the reality is I still haven't processed that I got hired at College Humor. I still haven't. That was 2017. It's 8 years ago now. I have not processed that. It is such a rare gift. Rarer than it should be and rarer than it needs to be. It should not be as challenging as it is to devote your life to creative endeavors and to telling stories. The structure of our economy and our society and our civilization makes it really hard for people to dedicate themselves, I think, to expression and play and things that they would want to use their leisure time, which increasingly doesn't exist, or their professional time to be able to do. And I wish that for more people. I wish more people could tell stories as much as I am telling them and not have to have all of the things line up that had to line up for me to be able to do that. It is impossible to process. You know, I think that to me, the height of ambition and the last thing that really like impacted me in that way was I remember the first time after College Humor was my first full-time job. You know, when I got that job, the starting salary for a College Humor cast member back at that time in 2017 was $50,000 a year. And I remember hearing that and like I almost started crying, you know, like and because I realized the first time I bought a burrito and didn't have to check my ATM to make sure that I could get a burrito. That's the height of human achievement. I just think the ability for me to like take care of my family and get a burrito without having to check my bank account, that was the goal. That goal was achieved. Everything that's happened since then has been sort of an absurd, to call it a cherry on top is underselling it. It's just absurd. It's something that nobody could deserve. And so rather than process the enormity of that, all I can do is just move through the world in a state of bewildered gratitude. I'm very, very grateful because all of the things that I'm doing now here in Sydney or in Melbourne, things I'm doing with Critical Role or Dimension 20, I was doing at a coffee table with my best friends with no cameras. And I was doing in the basement of a grocery store on 26th Street for free. You know, I was doing improv shows for so long. And the only thing that changed is people showed up. I don't know that I'll ever be able to process what that means, but I can be grateful that people showed up one day. So for everyone that's ever tuned into one of the shows, they've fundamentally changed my life and the lives of everyone that I can bring in around me. And for that, I am eternally grateful.
Very good answer. Well, speaking of the struggling artist era of yours, you after you graduated, you had your bartending era, and then years of you trying to put your name out there in the coffee shop. How did you keep your morale up the entire time?
It's a great question. Well, to answer that question honestly, sometimes the morale's not up. I think that's a part of the story that people leave out is moments of despair or moments of doubt. I moved to Los Angeles and I applied for the job at College Humor and I got rejected. I sent my packet. I worked so hard on it. I needed it. I had been, auditions weren't coming in. I had moved to a strange city. I auditioned for Herald Night in Los Angeles, the improv, sort of house improv teams, and I didn't get put on. I was teaching at the school and I didn't get cast. And I went, have I made a huge mistake? Have I ruined my life? Rather than tell you how I always kept the morale up, I'll tell you that I didn't manage to always keep the morale up. I think that sometimes the best thing you can do is acknowledge that things are not going great and sigh and just keep going. And if you can manage to keep going forward when the morale's not up, I think that's a skill that's worth everything. At least for me, it was.
Yeah, important skill to learn. But speaking of the learning curves of your journey, what was the biggest learning curve for you taking what was essentially a hobby into a professional realm where it's now being watched by a mass audience?
That's such a great question. The ways in which you translate the skills you build as a DM for home games and try to bring that to life in front of an audience. This is sort of a broad answer, but you bring everything you've got. In my instance, in my case, I studied as an improviser. I studied as a LARP writer. I went to school for screenwriting. When you're up there making a 2-hour episode of a TV show, improvised in front of a camera that a company has put tremendous resources behind to make work, you leave no stone unturned and every tool at your disposal you have. I can point to different episodes and say, that is a screenwriting principle. That's a precept from long form improv. That's something that I learned in my home games to do. That is a trick I learned doing Tourco for UCB. You really do develop this broad range of skills. And for anyone that doesn't have access to all of those, I guarantee you have skills that are relevant somewhere, right? I think about Brian Murphy, who's the incredible, talented cast member for Dimension 20 and one of the world's greatest actual play DMs, who Brian Murphy's encounter design is second to none. And his long history, I think, with video games and with that part of gaming that I don't have access to is a secret weapon. If you are interested in DMing and you're interested in DMing for actual play, whatever you have dedicated time and passion to has lessons buried within it that you can bring to bear in this art form.
It was recently announced you'll be Game Master for Critical Role. Mm-hmm. Congratulations.
Thank you.
With this, plus Dimension 20, plus live tours, in terms of career peak, where do you go from here? What is the ultimate achievement for you?
That is such a great question. Being the GM for Campaign 4 and continuing to create and GM for Dimension 20 is such a gift. I think that what's really important for anyone who wants to do this full time, ambition and where we go from here. Ambition to me is at its healthiest when it is a game you are playing and not where you draw your identity and sense of self-worth from. I try to find a balance between all of the things I want to do in my life and the fact that fundamentally, if all of this ended tomorrow, I would be so grateful for what I got a chance to do. So I try to move. I've seen people in our broader culture, and there's lots of examples of this, with a weird worship of a feeling of it's never enough. And I think that's a really toxic and bad place to move from, of, okay, I got this, what's next? A big part of my soul I try to keep focused on, oh my God, I can't believe I got this, right? and how grateful I am just to be able to do this. So rather than, I think, focusing on what the next thing is, I have dreams. I have these things that are like, if I got a chance to act in a thing like this, or make a TV show, or write a book, or go to the moon, if I got a chance to do these other amazing things, what an amazing story that would be. What a fun game that would be to play. For me, I think a lot of the things I want to do creatively in my life, one day I want to be a little old man who goes back to school and gets a philosophy degree and teaches philosophy. I think that would be lovely to do one day. But these are things that should be played with and loved and cherished as dreams, almost like toys. It's like, it's a game. Ambition is a game. There's something fun to do here, rather than thinking about it from a primal hunger perspective of like, I still don't have enough. To me, I have everything I ever need. And if I get to do more, what a hoot.
Backpedaling to what you said about the identity, there's a moment in your chat with Hank Green where you made a separation between who you are versus what you deliver regarding what has value to the community. Why do you create a separation?
I think you have to create a separation because when you are a public creator, you make a product which is you. You create stories, you deliver performances, they have your face in them. Unlike an actor, I'm also me. I'm saying, hello, welcome to another episode of Dimension 20. I'm your humble dungeon master, Brennan Lee Mulligan. I'm using my real name, right? And what you have to do a little bit, I think, is recognize that there are people who will watch a season of your show and not like the next one, who will maybe tag you in a piece of social media content that praises some part of you, and then maybe a year or two later they don't like the next thing you do, and maybe they say something really critical of that. If you fully open your heart to the praise you get from people who are engaging with you not as a pal, but as someone who's delivering a service to them. I'm a performer. I'm like someone cooking them a meal, or I'm like someone fixing the plumbing in their house. I'm a professional who's coming in to provide a service that they're looking for, which in this case is storytelling. And that can be deeply personal. I know that there are authors that have changed my life. It can be deeply, deeply personal. But it's still something where I think if you fully open your heart to it, you can end up finding yourself suddenly going, I thought we were friends. You have to like the next season of my show. You're my buddy, right? And I think that ends up putting creators in a place where they unintentionally end up hurting themselves, right? By not recognizing that these relationships are different, just like your relationship with a coworker is different than a family member. So for me, the separation between who I am in this public sphere is about realizing that where I'm supposed to draw my joy from and where I'm supposed to think about who I am as a person is really who I am when I'm at home with my family, or who I am with my friends and my colleagues, right? People that I work with, that we actually have a duty of obligation to each other because it's how we make a living and support our other little family units, right? Those relationships are where I ground my sense of self, rather than grounding my sense of self in this incredible large digital projection of how I am perceived by people that, though I would love to meet all of them, I never can.
Jesus Christ.
Is that too heavy?
Yeah,
is
a
that
little bit. Yeah.
Is that too? No, I'm sorry.
But no, it makes for good content for us.
I'm glad. Yeah, no, I think it's something that people are interested in. I think people that are very online have an understanding of parasocial relationships, and they're not bad. I don't think parasocial is an inherently bad thing. It's just about everyone managing, I think, what the expectations are. People that consume my shows, people that watch my shows and that are fans of the storytelling and the media I create, I owe them my best ability to do a good job. But it's important, I think, for creators and their mental health to not totally root their sense of self in what the big wide world thinks of them. You have to be who you are when you're with your friends and family.
All right, something to take home for me personally. Last one, home stretch. I know you often discredit yourself as someone who shouldn't give advice, but for the sake of this interview, please have a little bit of an ego. From a professional standpoint, what's the one thing aspiring creatives and storytellers should take from you to help with their journey and their art?
You've asked me to. The thing you've asked me to do is hard to do. There is, at the foundation of my ethical sense of self, is a belief in luck, in good and bad fortune. Some people really shy away from that. I think some people want to believe that there's a big plan. They want to believe in some form of destiny, or they want to believe that we are sort of the captains of our fate, and whatever your life is, you're responsible for it. It's hard for me. I think some people manage to do that, not in a cruel way, but for me, there's something about that I can't get behind, where I go, well, my life is good because of me, and if your life's bad, it's because of you. And I think that that's not something I can get behind even a little bit. It seems pretty obvious that our lives are not, that the majority of factors that determine the circumstances of your life are outside of any one individual's control, yours or another person's. The world is just very big. I think it's okay to acknowledge that the world gets the biggest say. You can control some, you have a slice of the pie, but what that fundamentally does for me is, as a creator, as someone that wants to do this for a living, you will do yourself the most good by standing clearly in the understanding of what you have control over. Do you have control over the size of your audience? To some degree, but there are a lot of other factors at work there. There's algorithms on social media sites that govern discoverability. Those algorithms are just determined by those companies to raise their profits. Maybe yours raises as a byproduct of that, but those algorithms are designed with those platforms' best interests in mind. There's this broad landscape that you're competing with. So what I would say to any young creator is root your effort, your sense of self, your pride in what you do, root that in the things over which you have control. You have control over how hard you work, and you have control over how well you take care of yourself so that you don't burn out. You have control over who you choose to work with, hopefully. Sometimes we don't, but in an ideal world. And you have control over your own integrity and your sense of morals, what you will say and what you will not say or you will refuse to say. I think that it's really important to not hang your self-worth off of externalities. I'll be this when this happens, when I have this many subscribers, or this, when I'm able to buy this luxury good, or I'm able to do this. To the degree that you are able, try to set your ambitions in the sphere of what you can control. Can you tell a better story today than you told yesterday? That seems like something you maybe have control over. Can you act with more integrity and take better care of your collaborators and coworkers than you did yesterday? Yeah, you might be able to do that. That might be fully within your control. So to me, the advice I would give to everybody is, do not hang your sense of self on things that exist out in the wide, wide world. Hang them on the things that are within that slice of the pie that is yours.